Welcome back to another deep dive. Today, we're staring at a really fascinating stack of declassified combat reports, squadron logs, and some honestly pretty intense technical manuals from late 1944.
Yeah, it's a wild set of documents because it reads less like a dry military report and more like, I don't know, a suspense thriller. We're zooming in on the Pacific Theater, specifically the Philippines.
Right. And to set the scene for you listening, I want to start with a hook from these logs. It's December 29th, 1944. It's 11:40 p.m. over the Philippines, and the reports emphasize the absolute darkness. No moon, no stars, heavy cloud.
Total sensory deprivation.
Exactly. And in that pitch-black sky, you have Major Carroll C. Smith in a P-61 Black Widow. He is facing what looks like a mathematical impossibility. One American plane versus 12 incoming Japanese bombers.
And our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack how a single pilot and a radar operator flying on fumes and adrenaline somehow achieved the highest single-night score for any American night fighter in the entire Pacific Theater.
I mean, just reading the sheer numbers, 1 versus 12, I was completely floored. How does that even happen?
Well, it wasn't just about dogfighting, right? This was about saving the invasion of Lingayen Gulf. The strategic context here is everything.
So let's talk about the stakes on the ground. Because they are on the island of Mindoro, and things are looking grim.
Extremely grim. The sources outline that McGuire Field and Mindoro is just getting absolutely hammered. In 14 days, they had 334 air raid alerts.
Wait, 334? In 2 weeks?
Yeah, that is practically relentless. American engineers are frantically trying to build these airfields to support the upcoming invasion. But if those Japanese bombers get through, construction stops, the invasion gets delayed, and casualties are going to mount.
So Smith's squadron, the 418th Night Fighter Squadron, is literally the only thing protecting 20,000 troops sleeping in tents below them.
They are the tip of the spear. And we have to talk about the hardware they were using, the P-61 Black Widow.
Right, because looking at the specs in these manuals, this plane is massive. It's the first U.S. aircraft designed specifically from the ground up for night combat.
It's a beast. It has a 66-foot wingspan, twin Pratt and Whitney R2800 engines putting out 2,000 horsepower each.
And the armament is terrifying. 4 20-millimeter cannons mounted right in the belly.
But the guns don't matter if you can't find the target. The real weapon, the thing that makes the Black Widow so lethal, is the SCR-720 radar housed in the nose.
This radar tech is fascinating. I mean, we take it for granted now, but in 1944, this was practically science fiction.
Oh, absolutely. The Japanese forces genuinely believed that the darkness made them invisible. They didn't even know the SCR-720 existed.
And that brings us to the team. You have Major Smith, the pilot, who's only 26 years old, but already has 43 combat missions under his belt.
And then you have Lieutenant Philip Porter. He's the radar operator.
And this is the part of the manual that really got me. Porter isn't sitting next to Smith looking out a window. He is sitting in a completely separate compartment, staring at a glowing screen. He is the literal eyes of the plane.
The trust there has to be absolute, because the hunt begins right at 23.42.
Okay, so let's get into the timeline. 23.42, Porter picks up the first contacts. He sees 4 targets on the screen, all heading south toward the airfield.
And here is the technical challenge they face. They have total reliance on instruments, the radar uses microwave pulses, and Porter basically has to talk Smith onto the target using verbal vectors.
Right, because Smith only has a tiny smaller scope in his cockpit that only picks up the target when they're super close.
Exactly. So Porter is guiding him in the dark. They close in on Target 1, which is a Mitsubishi G4M bomber, known as a Betty.
Smith gets within 500 yards. And even then, the visual confirmation is just a faint orange glow from the bomber's engine exhaust.
Because remember, the Japanese bombers lacked tail warning radar. They are flying straight and level, totally assuming they are safe in the dark.
They have no idea what's behind them. So Smith creeps up to 350 yards and opens fire. Just a massive burst, 48 shells. The bomber goes down at 23.57.
One down. But instantly, they run into the fuel problem.
The fuel math in these logs is incredibly stressful. Smith only has 3 hours of fuel total for the whole mission.
And engaging one bomber, from the maneuvering to the approach and the kill, takes roughly 10 minutes.
Right.
So if you do the brutal math, if he engages 3 of them, that's 30 minutes gone. He has to return to base, and he lets 9 bombers through to hit those 20,000 men.
But he doesn't stop. Target 2 is another Betty bomber, but it's 23 miles away from the first kill.
So Smith has to push the engines. He throttles up to 320 miles per hour to catch it, which just burns fuel at an alarming rate.
But he intercepts it at point 1 Rhine. Now we're into December 30th, and it's another stealth kill. The enemy takes no evasive action.
They still don't know they're being hunted by radar. But that changes quickly with Target 3.
Yeah, the escalation here is wild. Target 3 is a Nakajima Ki-49 called a Helen. And the logs note that this intercept is completely different.
The target is moving faster, and it's actively taking evasive action. It's changing altitude, changing heading.
So the pilot definitely knows he's being hunted.
Oh, for sure. And this Helen bomber has a tail gunner. As Smith closes to 375 yards, the gunner opens fire,
Tracers are suddenly just flying right past Smith's canopy in the pitch black.
which forces Smith to change tactics on the fly. He drops down and approaches from below and to the left, which is the bomber's blind spot.
It's just incredible flying. He holds steady, fires a much longer burst, this time 72 rounds, and the target goes down at 00.29.
But now we hit a critical crisis. Fuel is at 28%.
And the standard operating procedure is to return to base at 30%, right?
Exactly. 30% is your safety net. Returning now means he fails the mission because there are still bombers out there, but staying means he might just fall out of the sky.
It is quite the race against time and gas. Because Target 4 is another Betty bomber, and it is at a low altitude, only 4,200 feet, and very close to the airfield.
So Smith has to get there fast, but he can't burn gas. His solution is to dive. He uses gravity to gain speed without pushing the engines.
His fuel is now at 23%. The logs show he calculates he has exactly one chance. If he misses this pass, he does not have the fuel to circle back and pursue.
The pressure is unimaginable, but he fires at 0.34. Target destroyed.
So that is 4 kills. The airfields are technically safe for the moment. Smith makes the call to turn back to base with 21% fuel.
He's ready to go home, but then comes the plot twist.
Right. At 0.42, Porter detects a 5th contact on the radar.
And it is heading straight for the airfield.
So now they're forced into a final duel. But this target isn't a limbering bomber. It's a Nakajima Ki-84 Frank fighter.
A Frank is a completely different beast. It is faster than the P-61, hitting speeds around 392 miles per hour, and it's far more maneuverable.
If this was daytime, the Frank wins this fight easily.
No question. But in the dark, without radar, the Frank pilot is flying completely blind.
Still, it is a massive gamble for Smith. Engaging a nimble fighter means dogfighting, and dogfighting drops his fuel well below 15%.
And 15% is the absolute minimum safety margin just to land the plane.
But Smith decides stopping this fighter from strafing the airfield is worth the risk. He closes to 300 yards.
Handshake distance.
He fires at 0.45. The Frank goes down.
Which brings his total score to 5 kills in exactly 55 minutes.
It is breathtaking. But the danger isn't over, because now they have to survive the blind landing.
This part of the log reads like a nightmare. Smith has 15% fuel left. He is 11 miles from base.
And we should remind you, McGuire Field is primitive. The lighting is just a single row of kerosene lamps along a crushed coral runway.
Right, and at 0.55, as Smith is on his final approach, the runway lights just go out.
Total darkness. His fuel drops to 9%. That is 46 gallons. He doesn't have enough gas to divert to another base.
He has 2 terrible options. He can bail out, which means losing this incredibly valuable radar-equipped aircraft, or he can attempt a truly blind landing.
And their solution is pure ingenuity. Smith uses the radar altimeter. It bounces radio waves off the ground to measure their exact height.
So Porter is in the back, reading out the numbers as they fly into a black void. 400 feet, 250 feet, 100 feet.
And Smith just holds it steady until they touch down on that crushed coral at 0.59.
When they finally taxi to a stop, they check the gauges. Fuel is at 6%, 29 gallons.
29 gallons. That's, what, 3 minutes of flight time remaining?
Barely. And their ammunition went from 800 rounds down to just 392. The reports actually note that when Porter and Smith got out, they were physically shaking. Not from fear, but just the massive exhaustion and adrenaline dump.
I can't even fathom it. 5 kills in one night is a record for the Pacific Theater. But the craziest part of this entire deep dive is that Smith wasn't done.
He wasn't. The very same afternoon, December 30th at 14:30 hours, he flies another mission,
And he shoots down another Frank fighter using a diving attack.
bringing his total to 7 kills in less than 24 hours.
Just unparalleled. But beyond the records, we have to look at the strategic impact. Because of what Smith and Porter did, the airfield construction continued completely uninterrupted.
Which meant the invasion of Lingayen Gulf launched perfectly on schedule on January 9th, 1945.
The engineering reports estimate that if those bombers had succeeded, it would have caused at least a 2-week delay for the invasion.
And a 2-week delay in the Pacific means giving the enemy time to fortify, which directly translates to countless American lives lost on those beaches. They literally saved the invasion timetable.
Yet, despite all of this, Smith's legacy is so understated. He survived the war, and he never sought out any publicity.
He just went home. But his actions that night proved that the P-61 was the premier night fighter of the era.
It really is a perfect blend of this cutting-edge radar technology and just raw, unfiltered human courage. Landing a plane blindly on crushed coral while running on fumes.
It takes a very specific kind of nerve.
It does. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. We always hear about the ace pilots, the guys with their hands on the stick pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
But think about the forgotten roles in history. Think about Lieutenant Porter.
The radar operator.
Exactly. The guy sitting in a pitch-black compartment staring at a screen, calmly reading out altitudes while they are moments away from crashing. His voice is the only thing that guided Smith through the darkness. It makes you wonder, who are the radar operators in our own histories? The voices in the background making the impossible actually happen.
That is a great question to end on.
Thanks for exploring this incredible night with us. We will see you on the next Deep Dive.